All right, everybody. So welcome. This is week number 4. I'm gonna put the phone in mute in a little bit, but this is week number 4 for our root camp, and we're gonna get right into this here. Uh, Today's topic. Let me mute this line. Okay. So today's topic is conducting successful home meetings and/or webinars, and helping you to create the blueprint of success for effective live or virtual meetings. It's not shouldn't say helping you, it should say helping you create the blueprint of success for effective live or virtual meetings. So here we are in week number 4, and if somebody can just maybe let me know that you can hear me okay in the chat box, just to make sure my voice is good. Okay, thanks. Hear you? Okay. We're good. All right, perfect. So, um, overview of this week is we're going to cover basically just a brief recap and review of weeks 1 through 3. It's hard to believe that we're already in the 4th week here, isn't it? Time absolutely flies. We're going to talk also about week 3 homework and some of the next steps as to what has to happen for that. Then we're going to talk about some of the upcoming events that are important to plug into our calendars, and also to know where you can actually find the events on the events calendar. We're going to talk about the 5 core beliefs and why they matter, especially when it comes to home meetings or webinars or even just your business in general. We're going to talk about what a home meeting is or what a webinar is and how to use them effectively, and the purpose and the benefits of a home meeting. And I know that some of you on this call have done them before, or are in the process of doing one. Maybe some of the stuff that you'll see tonight is a slight variation to what you perhaps did when you put yours together. But nonetheless, we kind of have a template to follow now and a model. Then we're going to talk really about the homework. So let me just, before we get started, let's go right into kind of a review and a recap. And if I'm gonna call for 3 volunteers here, who will have the ability to, I'll unmute your phone, just individually, and I'd like to hear from a few folks as to what the first 3 weeks has been like for you in this root camp. You know, what things have been challenging, what things have you enjoyed, and so if you want to just put your name into the chat box here as to just say yes if you want to be one of the volunteers. And I just like to hear from you, and I'll unmute just your phone specifically. So in the chat box, if I'm looking just for 3 volunteers here. Okay, we got 1. Thanks, Sandy and or Rand. Okay, thanks, Bobby. And we're looking for 1 more here. Who would like to volunteer? I can do it by chat, but not by voice. Okay. Um, all right, there we go. We got our 3. All right, so Sandy and Rand, I'm gonna unmute your phone first, and share with us, either both of you or one of you, just kind of what the first 3 weeks has been like for you in this root camp. Some of the things you've noticed, and we'll start with you guys.
Okay. Um, First of all, the assignments have increased in terms of amount, and that's number one. Number two, it was fun to see the evolution as far as the matrix is concerned. Doing it, how to record the time, sort of a context, if you will, or a design. And thirdly, the doing the hundred names. Um, there were many, many more names I could have put. Um, but it's obviously, as I think maybe other people found too, it's a good task, but it's a much longer task than I had anticipated. So that's kind of what I have to say, or what I have to contribute.
Great, I appreciate that, Rand. And maybe what are some other things that were coming up for you, either just I'll say emotionally or just in general or workload or what was coming up while in the past 3 weeks? What have been some of the things that were positive and some things that have been kind of challenging through the root camp?
Well, let's start with the challenging things first, which is to say, I don't know if this is going to fit in with everything else I'm doing in my life, you know? And then that was almost like a temptation, frankly, because very quickly um, I'd already set my priorities. I'd really set my priorities to work at Veridian and really put the effort in. And pretty soon, I really didn't even think about it. I just kind of moved forward and did what had to be done. And I mean, this is not a brag, but I went down to finish my assignment yesterday afternoon and started about 6 o'clock, and I finished at 5:30 this morning. But if you have to work that long, you work that long. It's as simple as that. I've done that most of my life anyway.
Excellent. Excellent. So you mentioned before in the beginning it was one of the feelings was kind of this is wow, this is a lot. Do I have time to fit this in? And then ultimately you kind of got past that.
Yeah, it's sort of like, what have I gotten myself into here?
Hmm.
But then pretty quickly, it's you got yourself into what you wanted to get yourself into, and then I kind of get a smile on my face and say, yeah, this is really what I want to do. So it's a lot of fun.
Excellent. Excellent. Wonderful. Anything else that you want to share?
I think that's all I have to share right now. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. That's great. I appreciate
I'll,
you stepping
I'll
up
say
there.
one quick word, which is that what we're getting here is really sort of a little mini MBA, and
Mm.
I appreciate the business knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, good stuff. That's great. Thanks, Rand and Sandy. And so Bobby Leach, we'll move on to you. Let me unmute you. Sorry. All right. So Sandy and Rand, you guys are back on mute, and Bobby, you are unmuted.
Did you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
Hello? Okay. The time matrix was something that opened my eyes quite a bit to just my own time management. Um, Even scheduling a meeting, you schedule it for an hour and you get off track. An hour meeting can easily run into an hour and a half, 2 hours, and without being cognizant of that time management chart, um, it keeps you on point, and keeps you from getting distracted, as well as managing your email. I mean, you jump on the internet, you can get sidetracked extremely easy. I know I do. Um, and it keeps your phone calls on point as well. Um, Even from the person you're speaking to's perspective, they start getting long-winded. You could, address the fact that I only have a few minutes here because I got another 20 calls to make and, less than an hour to do it. So the chart on my desk, even from a travel standpoint, helped me organize my weeks a little bit better and staying focused. The Monday call has really got me re-engaged, as did the Work Smart Wednesdays did. Without that structure, you seem to drift a bit, I feel.
Hmm. Absolutely. So the time use matrix really kind of helped you remind yourself of their priorities, and while we all have a tendency of getting pulled into a certain area and spending too much time there in unproductive areas, possibly that it kind of kept you on track with, I guess, because why? Because you knew you were filling out a sheet. You were just more
Well,
aware of it, or
I was more aware of the time. I mean, I always worked with a organized calendar for setting appointments and just keeping my schedule on a time frame. Made it more realistic. Like I said, you jump on the internet. Um, if you're not doing emails, you get sidetracked real easy. So if you're going to block out an hour or two for emails, it keeps you more on track. I found anyway.
Excellent. Excellent. What have been some of the challenges that you've had with the root camp so far?
Um, I don't know if there have been any challenges. I think it's been um, helpful in meeting my time management challenges, my organization challenges, just by putting the stack of business cards I had on my desk in a orderly fashion. Um, I think was helpful just from an organizational standpoint.
Sure. Awesome. Awesome. Well, great. Thanks, Bob. Anything else you want to add?
No, so far so good. I'm enjoying it.
Okay. All right. So then the last one here is let's see here. All right, we'll go to Cam. Let me mute Bobby, and I'll unmute you. Okay, go ahead, Cam.
Hold on. Sorry, Lindsay wanted to do it, so go ahead, Liz. Hey, Mike. I would say, I wasn't on the first week. I was late to the party for Root Camp on an email invite. But for me, it's been a wake up call because you've held me accountable and just really, gave me a polite kick in the butt to get me on the right track and see what proven Viridian professionals are doing. And it's I've kept the objectives in my mind, though I would say failing on to doing the homework for the first weeks and then really getting half of my list done. I want to add more to it, so it's made me realize how much more I have to do to take Viridian seriously and to get things done. So it's the calls are really helpful, and the information from a life coach perspective is excellent. I mean, I really get a lot out of what you say because you're really good at professing that. So I appreciate it, but it's also it's a wake-up call. It's a good reminder of how much I need to get done in this business.
Excellent. And Cam, anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, the one thing that this has actually done is solidified a lot more about what this business is really, if you're going to take it seriously, you're going to have to put in the effort and the time. It kind of solidified for me that, and it reminded me of going through sergeant school. You may have the ability to be a sergeant, but the truth is you have to continuously practice over and over again the skills that make you a good non-commissioned officer. In the context of this business, it solidifies that you have to do this work and you have to be able to duplicate yourself by doing this work in order to have good leaders that you're going to bring into this business. So I have found that the work that we're doing here and the focus that we do on a week-to-week basis is a great thing.
Awesome. Very cool. So so why do you guys? You can put it in the chat box here. Why do you guys think that I'm doing this root camp? So just type in your answer over into the chat box.
Better prepared. There.
And I'm going to mute you back out, Cameron. So just type in the chat box, guys. Why do you think that I'm doing this root camp? Or what do you think the purpose of this root camp is? Okay, Cam says to better prepare us. Because building leaders is what the business is all about. Right on, Maurice. To help us become more focused in the business. Yep, done. Absolutely. To push us to see, that we can stretch. Okay, that's Rand and Sandy. Maria, to develop more effective leaders for all of our benefits. Neva, you want us to succeed with you. That was from Dennis. Russ, to help us realize for ourselves what we are doing right and wrong. To allow us to be better and more thorough people and Viridian business professionals. Mike Puglisi. developing skills. Excellent, excellent. Guys, those are all. There was one more there. Let me get that last one. And Robert Leach, help build and professionalize your team and pay forward by helping others. Um, yeah, I mean, guys, all of those things that are there are designed to. The reason I'm doing this is because this business is very, very simple, but it's not easy. And what I want to emphasize is that if this business was that easy, wouldn't everybody already be living the life of their dreams and financially retired and so on and so forth? And so one of the things that really discourages me a lot is when people talk about, how easy the business is. And I can tell you right now that generating $5,000 a month in residual income, there's nothing easy about that. Generating $10,000 a month, or $20,000 a month, or $50,000 a month, or $100,000 a month, there's nothing easy about that. And what a lot of people fail to address is the very building blocks of success. A lot of training that gets done that I've seen so far really deals with either mindset stuff, right? Getting yourself prepared or ready, reading good books, professional development, personal growth, and so on and so forth, which is a critical piece to the whole equation. Or we learn a lot about the specifics within Veridian. A lot of the trainings deal with the cab bonus, the bonus du jour, the upcoming promotions right now, the next event coming up, and so on and so forth. And that's critical. That's crucial towards the growth of your business. But there's a middle missing section there that is really the skill set and the technique and the tactics that are involved with helping people get from A to B. We all know theoretically what has to happen and the importance of our mindset. We all know the things to plug into and what's available, but what to take action on and how to do it and so on and so forth, I believe that is something that is of equal importance. And Bob Quintana's got a great equation towards a peak performer. And he says a peak performance or a peak performer is when you take mindset times skill set times execution equals a peak performer. And the whole reason that this root camp exists is because I know already without even knowing you that you were designed to accomplish extraordinary things while you're here. I know that you were knitted in the womb to accomplish extraordinary things during your time here on earth. And I know that we're all capable of operating at a much higher level, day by day, week by week, and month by month, than sometimes that we're willing to put forth on our own. That's why the greatest Olympic athletes, the greatest musicians, the greatest artists, the greatest business professionals, the greatest parents, the greatest anybody have mentors. The greatest clergy or religious folks or rabbis, they all have spiritual directors or mentors and so on. Now, why is it? It's because we all have blind spots, in our own life. There are the things that we don't even know that we don't know. We can't possibly see all the things that are happening around us. But I can tell you that when you start to go through a class and you start to have assignments, and this business is designed to help you guys reach, your financial goals. And what I want to do is I want to really applaud, all you guys for being on these calls every week and for doing your assignments, not just for doing them for you and for me and for this class, but I want you guys to thank yourself for what you're doing for the future leaders that have yet to join your team. Because you guys going through this process right now is as much for them as it is for you. Because you're going to come up against obstacles that people on your team are going to present to you that you perhaps presented to me in a root camp like this. And if I'm not able to show you through actions versus just words, how to handle that from a leadership perspective and how to have that conversation, then I didn't do my job. I failed you guys in equipping you on building your teams with future leaders going forward. So thank yourself and thank the people on your future team, for having gone through what you're about to go through for the next, month and a half or so. And how many people, just again, by using a chat box here, how many people in the course of their first 3 weeks in this root camp have wondered, if they should continue with this or if it's just too much? Just type in the chat box there. Or like Rand said at the beginning, what did I get myself into? Bring it on. All right, Don, that's great. So in the chat box, guys, type in, how many times or whether or not you've had the thought of, what did I get myself into? Am I ready for this? Maybe this isn't the right time, or I should probably, quit. Yep. Me, but for other reasons, but I figured out how to deal with it. Okay. Yes. No. Okay. No. Good. That's Maurice. They are fleeting. Okay. Okay. So let's jump right into it, guys. It's a normal feeling, by the way. It's a normal feeling to to doubt and to wonder and whatever. But the only way to really conquer that is through action. So far we've gone through the overview and expectations. We went through time management and productivity. We went through becoming a talent scout and recruiting up versus sponsoring down. And this week we're talking about conducting successful home meetings and/or webinar. Now, keep in mind, guys, that you might not necessarily, see the fruits of some of these sessions immediately, but you'll notice that these are skill sets that take time to seep in and will continue to develop as you continue to use them. So the things that you've learned so far, the only way they're really going to have positive impacts on your business is to continue developing them going forward. Now, just as an FYI, I know it was mentioned on the call this morning with Kick It Off with Q, and that's the other thing, guys. There's a power call on Monday nights. Bob Quintana's got a great call on Monday mornings. Vin Lamantia has a great call on Sunday nights. Joe O has a great call on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings. And these are just great opportunities to plug in and get fed by the right people, the right ingredients, the right mindset, the right brain food, so to speak. And you'll notice here it's a little blurry, but the road show is about halfway through. I want to commend Maurice real quick just for sending off a oh, Sandy, thank you. Yeah, Sandy has a list of all the calls if anybody wants them. And Sandy, if you can send that to me, I'm going to post that onto our website, and everybody can kind of have access to that as well. So thanks, Sandy. So the roadshow is half over, guys. And if you haven't been to one of the events recently, then take a look at what's coming up soon. And I would do everything in your power to get to one of these. So, for example, if you have not been to one, tomorrow night in Terrytown, which is not that far from here in New Jersey, I would definitely get there. And Maurice, I know that you've offered to you're getting a car and you're driving a bunch of people. I'm pretty sure that Rand is going, and I think Maria's going, and he has one more seat. So just anyway, great leadership for being there and for doing that. Bobby Leach and Don Imbriaco, great job, and Heidi for being there on Saturday with all of your guys' teams down in Woodbridge and Islin. That was a spectacular event. Don, you had a great group there. And so then Massachusetts is going to happen 2 times. The Western Massachusetts group on Wednesday the 23rd of this week in Springfield. And I know that Neva and Russ and Darren and your guys' whole crew up there is getting really geared up. That's going to be a terrific event. And then again in close to Boston, you got on Thursday the 24th is another huge event. So keep in mind, guys, that these are great opportunities to drive people to. If you know people in these areas, they're brilliant markets that we've got. That's the other thing that's important. If you watch all the top leaders, whether it's Vin Lamantia, Big John, Bob Q, Anthony Serino, Kenny Olson, the Kennys, myself, whomever, Joe and Frank, they kind of go where there's smoke. because where there's smoke, there's fire. And if you guys know people, I mean, just think right now while you're on this call, do you have any college friends? Do you have any family? Do you have any acquaintances or business associates, who live in any of the following markets? Anybody out in Illinois? Anybody down in D.C. or Delaware or Maryland or Virginia? Do you guys know anybody in Pennsylvania or the Philadelphia area? Or do you guys know anybody down in or up in Massachusetts, Western Mass, or Boston? Do you guys know anybody in New York City, or upstate New York, or anybody like that? Or even how about New Jersey, obviously, or Connecticut? So think about where you guys know people and whether or not you're taking advantage of the events. So for those of you guys that don't know right now, let me just pull up the events calendar. And for those of you that have not seen this, I'm sure most of you have, I hope. But if you go to www.liveviridian.com, right here at the top under events, this is where you can basically see all the upcoming stuff. So one of the things that shows up in the beginning are kind of the highlighted events that corporate's responsible for. So you have the October Roadshow, and then there's information that's there. You click on that. The 2014 Leadership Retreat, that's something we're going to spend some time talking about, not today as much, but my goal is that everybody on this call, hits to be at least lead director, by year end, so you can make it to the Leadership Retreat. And guys, it is completely possible. Lead director is 500 OCC, and I'll tell you, I brought a guy on back in April or May, and in his first 3 months, he brought on about 3,200 customers in his organization. So it's completely doable and completely possible. The other thing I want to emphasize here are Discover Viridian events. And I want to start to hand off some of this leadership to you guys. One of the things that I know is critical in this business is helping people build their core belief. And the more that they're around the people, the more that they're around the system, the more they're using the tools, the more they can see the top leaders and hear the people. It has an exponential growth factor built into it. The subconscious element of that is enormous. So Discover Viridian happens once a month, and it's something that you want to really set in your calendar as a go-to. Even if you bring only one person, think about this. They probably only have, maybe they have about 8 of them a year, 8 or 9 of them a year. The other ones have conflict with the road shows and with or with Power Up and so on. So they probably don't do it every month, but they probably do it 8 to 10 months a year. And I would just commit the second Friday of every month, to registering to be there. And even if you have nobody to go with, go there, right? Be there because it builds your belief. You're going to hear something that somebody's going to say because you're in a different place when you hear it. And I've been almost every month. I think I've only missed probably one so far. And I just want this to be something that for our team becomes a staple, a real solid focal point of being there with your team and or with the prospect, at least one every month. And if you can, I mean, some people have jobs and they can't do it. So obviously we all know how that goes. But maybe take a sick day and use it for one of those days. But Discover Viridian is incredible. But then down below here, guys, are the calendar of events. So if you want to kind of see what's going on, now some of you may have seen this before, some of you may not, but you can basically look here and you can say, show me all the events, show me just Connecticut events, just Maryland events, just New Jersey events, just Pennsylvania events. So you can basically uncheck these and say, I don't really want to see any Connecticut events or Maryland or New Jersey or or what have you. So I could just check off and say, just show me New Jersey events. And they'll show you basically all the different events that are there. So anyway, look on the calendar for for this week and kind of see where there's action going on and see who you might know that you can plug into those events. So it's really critical, guys, to do that and to be plugged in there. So I know we've emphasized that a lot, and it'll be the one thing that's emphasized all the way throughout your career. So before we get into the actual specifics here of the home events, I want to talk for a second about the 5 core beliefs and really what this is all about. Because think about this for a second. Would you guys all agree that when it comes to knowing the formula of what it takes to get certain results in key areas of your life, that we pretty much know what the formula is? And what I mean by that is whether it's your health and what it takes to be healthy, or whether it's to build a Viridian business, or whether it's to lose weight, or whether it's to become financially free. So we all know logically what it takes to do it. Now I'm gonna grab my pen here, and I'll just kind of draw on the screen. So here's what kind of happens for the most part. All right, um, we all have our mind. We all have our brain. Now our brain is the most interesting creation on the entire planet, and it can become your best friend or your worst enemy. And on a regular basis, it's going from the thought of one thing over here, which is faith, and over here, which is doubt. And it oscillates back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it really requires a lot of brain training and or weeding a garden, so to speak. Now what's interesting is that if you want to get a certain result in life, we know that you'd have to do this, 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 and this to get this result. Okay? Now, in this business, it could be following duplicate system, it could be showing the plan, it could be making phone calls, it could be a variety of different things. It could be tap rooting, it could be helping people with their fast start bonuses and onboarding stuff. Or let's just say losing weight, for example. We know that we probably should get 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night. We probably should, drink 6 to 8 fluid ounces a day. We probably should get a half an hour of exercise per day. We probably should watch what we eat and have a little self-control and not eat everything all the time. So we know exactly what has to happen to get the result of being healthy and or losing weight. So what's interesting though is that only 5% of our results come from the conscious part of our brain. Okay? 95% of the results that we get in life come from the unconscious part of our brain. And people spend 95% of their time focusing on what generates 5% of the actual results. They spend 95% of their time focusing on the actual process itself. But don't you guys agree that we live in an era today where information on how to do things is more available now than it's ever been in the history of mankind, right? Between Google, between the internet, between the library and books and Barnes and Nobles and all sorts of stuff. We know exactly what would have to happen to get a certain result. So then why is it that most people don't have the results that they're looking for? And the reality behind it is it's because 95% of your results come from your subconscious mind. Okay? So your subconscious mind really cannot determine the difference between what's real and what's not real, or what's fact and what's fiction, or what's reality versus what's not. So whatever it is that you're telling yourself, like for example, one of the reasons we did a vision board workshop was to really start to pour that kind of stuff into your psyche. Have you sit there for a day and really craft your vision board. And we'll be doing that again as well. But how many of you guys have actually taken a mock 1099 that you would get from Viridian and put in like your dollar amount into it, that you want to have at the conclusion of 2014? And those little psychological things, or maybe just get, 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 checks out of your checkbook and write a check out to a certain organization or person or institution if you have debt, and date it, and then pin those checks on your wall and look at them every day. So maybe you have a loan that's outstanding to TD Bank, and you put a check to TD Bank for $60,000, and you put in the memo line, clear out debt or clear out mortgage or clear out credit card or whatever it is, and you put the date on there. And again, those little kinds of things are big. But when we get into the 5 core beliefs, really operating out of your subconscious mind has a greater impact on your results than anything that you could do consciously. So you guys have probably seen our team website. I'm going to pull up again here. But inside our team website, there's a section in there for 5 core beliefs. Now, in here are some key areas, and I'm just going to read through some of this stuff for you. But a belief is the mental attitude that some proposition is true. Core beliefs are those things that you believe to be true and real. All throughout your life, oops, lost sound. Is it still lost, or can you guys hear me okay? I know Maurice just sent me an email saying lost sound. Okay. Oh, you can hear me. Okay, good. Maybe Maurice, it's your phone. Um, all throughout your life, your parents, family, friends, people, experiences, situations, the media, and other factors have played a significant role in shaping your present reality and beliefs. Okay, good, bad, or indifferent. This next part is the part I love the most. If you believe something is true, then you must be willing to act as if it were true. And if you're unwilling to act as though it were true, you can't really claim to believe it. This is why they say actions speak louder than words. We can't know the contents of a person's mind, but we can know if their actions are consistent with what they say they believe. Beliefs are important because behavior is important, and your behavior depends on your beliefs. Everything you do can be traced back to beliefs that you hold about the world. And then Franz Fanon basically has a great quote here that says, sometimes people hold a core belief that is very strong. When they're presented with evidence that works against that belief, the new evidence cannot be accepted. It would create a feeling that is extremely uncomfortable called cognitive dissonance. And because it is so important to protect the core belief, they will rationalize, ignore, and even deny anything that doesn't fit within their core belief. So why are our core beliefs important with Veridian, and what does this have to do with a home meeting? Well, you'll see pretty much everything. But why are core beliefs important when growing your Veridian business? Well, the 5 core beliefs below are the most important items that will determine your success in this business. When you first get started with Veridian, it would be impossible for you to have the same core beliefs as someone who's been with the company for 3+ years. That's like expecting a freshman in college to have the same level of confidence and conviction as a senior, or better yet, it's like expecting a newborn baby to know how to tie their own shoes and write their own name. Developing core beliefs takes time, practice, and requires you staying involved and plugged in. I want to give a shout out to Rand Frew right now, one of Sandy's new associates, and I know you probably can't hear it, but a little round of applause because, man, when I see somebody who's brand new, who's plugging in and making necessary sacrifices, Rand, you are on your way, to building a terrific organization. I can just tell by your desire to plug in and your willingness to make sacrifices to be there and to do what needs to be done. So. I want to give a special kudos to you for being brand new and making it up to, I think, the day after you signed up. I talked to you on the phone on a 3-way call with Sandy, and I said, would you mind if I gave you some coaching right off the bat? And you said, absolutely, that's what I'm here for, or that's what you're here for. And I said, if I were you, I would do everything in my power to get to the meeting tomorrow up in, I think it was around the Poughkeepsie area or Fishkill, and even without a car, you made the sacrifice and you got there. And you've also been up to Discover Veridian on your own with Sandy, your sponsor, and so you're going with Maurice tomorrow night. So I can tell that you have the eye of the tiger. You got that coachability, you've got the desire, and I think you have the willingness and the readiness. So, and would you agree, Rand? I know you can't talk right now, but in the chat box, would you agree that each event has kind of built your core belief a little bit more each time about the company and what you're involved with? You can put it in the chat box there. Absolutely, yes. Okay, yeah. So it's just the way that it goes. So guys, in this business, you can go back to this page and you can read it. But we have 5 core beliefs in this business to be successful. It's belief in the industry. It's belief in the company. It's belief in the product. It's belief in the team, and it's belief in yourself. So the first one happens to be the industry. Now we have 2 industries that we're part of. One of them is the energy deregulation industry, of which pretty much nobody's ever been involved with until they joined Veridian, but most people aren't in the energy business. So it's kind of new. So we don't really have a big core belief about that. But then you start to read about it, and you start to hear things from Bill Gates, and you listen to Jack Welch, who says that the energy deregulation will be bigger than the internet, and you hear from Warren Buffett and so on and so forth. And we also have the direct selling industry. And this is also new for a lot of folks. It's a whole new distribution method. Well, it happens to be taking the world by storm, and most of the Fortune 500 companies are using it, but it's new. So we have to grow our core beliefs in direct selling as well. And there's some trade organizations that are there, the Direct Selling Association, Direct Selling News, a publication, the World Federation of Direct Selling Associations. Just a great way to familiarize yourself with some of the statistics, some of the different industry overview type of stuff at a macro level. And so that's the first thing is really a core belief in the industry. Now I give you some recommendations down below for how do you build core belief in this one area. Okay, well, you visit industry trade websites. You basically subscribe to their email lists. Maybe you attend industry trade conventions. You become a customer of your industry. You do your homework and your research. And our Power Up convention is a great way, to build your belief in the industry. So one of the things that we have coming up in, I think, a week and a half, maybe even next weekend, is about 10 of us from our team are going down to the MLM Mastermind retreat in Orlando from Friday till Sunday. And I actually have 2 tickets that are left. The tickets right now are retailing for about $600, and we locked in a block of about 100 tickets, and there's about 100 Viridian associates going down to this event in Orlando, and I have these tickets available for $197, but I actually purchased 10 of them for people on my team. So I'm actually paying for this ticket for people who are serious about going, and right now we have 8 people that are coming down there that are making the necessary commitments and sacrifices to be there. Now, what is it? Well, it's an industry neutral seminar, for 3 days. And the teachers, the instructors for this program have all made over $100,000 or 6 figures a month for a minimum of 3 to 5 years. Okay, and they are the faculty, as they call them, and it is one of the most extraordinary ways to build your belief, and also the amount of things that you'll attract as a result of being there. If anybody has any questions about that or wants to talk about the remaining 2 tickets, if they want to really have a conversation, not necessarily commit to going, but really want to have a conversation, people always ask, what do I do to grow my business? And I say, well, do this. They say, I don't have the money. I'm saying, well, forget that. This is this will have, when you invest in yourself, there's only 3 places to invest, guys. You can invest in the stock market, okay? You can invest in real estate, or you can invest in yourself. And I'm going to tell you that the only one that has a guaranteed 100% return on its investment is the investment you make in yourself. It will never, ever, ever fail you. Period. End of story. So anyway, that's core belief number 1 is that. Core belief number 2 is the company. Now, if you guys look at Viridian as a company and all of the things that it has proved already, between winning the Ethos Award through the DSA, which is the Rising Star Award, one of the top fastest growing companies in the direct selling industry in the world, one of the top 50 it was named in its first year. Our CEO was named Ernst & Young's Entrepreneur of the Year. The sustainability reports, the 7 continents in 7 years, the videos, the materials, the website, the services, the Shop Viridian. Some of the collateral materials that we have, our duplicate training, even the promotional trips that we have, and so on and so forth. There is very little doubt about the company, its solvency, where it's going, what it wants to do, especially the introduction of solar now. So that's core belief number 2. Core belief number 3, this needs to be changed to 50% renewable now, but is our products. And we have fixed and variable rate products. We have Everyday Green, we have solar, and we've got natural gas. And then we've got the team. We have 2 different teams. We've got the corporate team, and we've got our team that you're part of. So that's a big one, to build your core belief in those areas. And then the last one, ultimately, which is the most important, is you. The core belief that you have in yourself. That's why I say that the investment you can make in yourself and your personal development and your growth is going to have the single greatest return on investment more than anything else. And I'm not sure if all of you guys have heard the Serenity Prayer here, but God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And that's really kind of how it works in this business too. So let's jump right back into the purpose of today's call as well, which is really predominantly the home meetings and whatnot. Now, just before we move on to that, in the chat box here, type in the one core belief that you think that you need to work on the most, okay, in the next month. Okay, number 5. Number 5. Number 5. Number 5. Number 5. Number 5. Number 5 takes the cake. Okay, number 5. Guys, this is excellent. So number 5 is really every single person's area that they have to build their core belief. And it's amazing how much your belief in yourself and what you deserve and what you're capable of is going to impact your ability to grow this business. So what is a home meeting? okay, or a webinar? Well, a home meeting is a small meeting, generally with 5 to 15 attendees. It's typically informal, and they can be held anywhere. It can be held at your home, somebody else's home, a coffee house, an office, etc. And since it is a little less formal, this type of meeting may have some flexibility in the start times and end times to accommodate different attendees. This meeting will have a more familiar feel, and question and answers are welcomed. So a home meeting is really just categorized as something with 5 to 15 people that are coming together. Now, I want you to think about this for a second, and what we talked about with our core beliefs before. Think about the core beliefs that people that are on your lists have about life, about themselves, about their business, about their faith, their this, their family, their that, and so on and so forth. So when you're bringing people together, it's really not for you as much as it could be for them, but these people are more often than not, crazy glued to a circumstance. They are so conditioned for failure by the media, maybe their upbringing, maybe just years and years and years of what they've been telling themselves. So most people are conditioned to not succeed. I mean, wouldn't you agree that most of the things that are out there are not designed to help people, live this prosperous, abundant life? There are resources that are out there, but when you hear the news and you turn the news on every night and you watch that and you put that into your brain and you basically, and you ask yourself, who's mentoring you? Who's mentoring your children? Who's in control of putting things into your eyes and your ears? Well, think about the people that would be coming to your event, right? To your little gathering. These are people who are scared out of their mind. They won't admit it, but they're horrified. They know they don't have enough money in retirement savings. They know they're not living a life of total freedom and time freedom or financial freedom. They know they don't have all the money in the world to go travel and take their families on vacations that they want to, or that they might not have as much purpose or meaning in their world, or they don't feel like they do in what they're doing, or maybe they love what they do but they don't have anywhere near the resources to pull it off. And so they're going through the exact same thing that all of us went through before we were introduced to Veridian. So Veridian came into your life for very specific reasons, right? And to really help you work on things in your life, or address certain things in your life that have been areas that have been holding us back. And that's the beauty of network marketing, is that it literally microwaves our personal development. Instead of waiting 40 years to resolve an issue that we've been struggling with. And the most liberating part about it is that when you're around a lot of other people that are talking about their weaknesses and what their insecurities were, all of a sudden that gives us a great amount of comfort to know that we're just not alone. Everybody's got something and certain things. This just happens to put it in a microwave and nuke it up in about 30 seconds, or in this case 30 days to 90 days. We can really figure out where we need to work with people in the first month to 3 months of them being in this business, because certain things will surface conversationally, and the irony is that the person who's calling us out on it is really just there to help us. They want us to succeed in the business. So the whole purpose of these home meetings, okay, in general, is to share with somebody, what it is that you're involved with. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. For $299, I'm going to give you a paradigm shift right now. For $299, okay, you just bought a CEO whose name is Michael Falquist, who works for you. You just bought Cami Bamey, who's our strategic vision consultant / brand management extraordinaire. You just bought Meredith Burkich, the president of the Veridian Network, and her 25 years plus experience in direct selling. You just bought Bill O'Hearn, the manager of the RFP account. You just bought 30 to 40 new solar employees. For $299, you just bought access to a world-class training system called Duplicate. You bought access to all sorts of collateral materials and flyers and brochures, right? You bought access to a website. I want you to really, really think for a second that for $299, you became the CEO of your own business, and to what degree you want to make $1 million or whatever your number is, you just bought access to, I think, so much more than you possibly realize. I mean, Michael Falquist, Meredith Burkich, Cami, this, that, whatever, they all work for you. They're working to build this business of which you are part of. And so I want you to put yourself in a position. Imagine if you were launching a quote unquote real business. Okay, maybe maybe you have a social media management company, or maybe you are a property manager, or maybe you have a mission that's out there, or perhaps you are an accountant. Okay, or you're like me, you're in the insurance business. I mean, I've spent $300 on hiring somebody to customize putting together a PowerPoint for me. I mean, just one PowerPoint. We have 30 different PowerPoint presentations that are professionally manufactured, to help you build your business. I mean, it's incredible when you really put it into perspective what you bought yourself access to. So think about if you were to start a bakery. Okay, let's just say you love baking and you had the greatest cupcakes and the greatest muffins and cakes and cinnamon rolls, and they're all family recipes and so on and so forth. So you're going to open up a storefront right downtown, wherever you live, and you're going to call it Betty's Bakery, or whatever you want to call it. And you hired a marketing firm, and they helped you put together all sorts of postcard mailers and flyers and some ads that you can put up in local stores. And you also worked with somebody else to help develop your website so people can actually order online. Somebody else helped put together your decals for your window or your logo. And you hired somebody else to kind of helped you shop around the equipment and things of that nature. So, and now let's just say that you went to a business convention for like 3 days to learn how to launch your business, and they're going to teach you all about how to get outbound marketing out there, how to drive referral business, how to pick the demographics of where you want your store to be located, and then pick your list and then do mailers to these people within a 20-minute radius. And the whole goal of any business is to drive traffic, right? There's no business that exists where exposures and traffic aren't the essential ingredient towards success. I mean, if you run a church and you have nobody coming in your doors, then you have a really boring and useless church. If you have a CPA firm and you have nobody coming through the doors or experiencing what you have to offer, then you don't really have a firm. So in any business, if you're not driving massive traffic into your business, or exposures, I should say, then you really don't have much of a business. So think about a real business, quote unquote, all right, not Veridian, but a real one. And say all the things that are on this screen here were replaced with sample muffins, sample of postcards, your new website, industry reports, the floor plan of the new layout of your place, of your new building, your marketing strategy that your consultant helped put together with you and for you. And you wanted to bring some folks over and basically say, hey, I really want you to check out my business. I really want you to take a look at what I'm about to embark upon, and I'm really excited about it. Now, you don't need to throw up all this stuff on them, because I mean, keep in mind that when you look at this chart right here, this is a picture I took up at Discover Veridian a few months back. These are all the little Veridianisms that are out there. All the things that we know about. We've got our Pure Green product now, the 50% RPS. We've got Discover Your Own Ecosystem, Veridian University, some of the taglines of the biggest brainer in history, the duplicate process. We have Live Veridian for our website, Discover Veridian, VLife, our publications on Friday, VList, our recognition page, our 4 pillars of sustainability, Shop Veridian, the 7 continents in 7 years. I mean, you can go on and on and on. I mean, but so we don't want to vomit on people. But the fact of the matter is that if this was your business, okay, and it was a muffin business or a bakery, wouldn't you be delightedly, extraordinarily excited, to bring somebody over and show them what you're involved with and where you're going and where you want this thing to go? And wouldn't you want, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, whoever people involved in your life to know about this? And again, not from you to just, throw it onto them and just vomit all over them, but to try to figure out, in their life, right? what's kind of going on in their world. So when you can connect to people at the human level and basically talk about your story for a minute as to why you got involved with something like Viridian, that you were struggling in this area, or you were looking for more of this, or you didn't have enough of that, and you didn't know what to do, and you've run a traditional business before, and this is kind of how it's gone, and I've constantly been putting more money back into the company, and so on and so on and so on. And don't you think that there's going to be somebody in that audience that's going to really relate, and your story is going to resonate with big time? When you're talking to a group of people, you have to message it so that you're actually specifically possibly talking to one person only, right? So whatever your messaging is, it's got to be so specific that if it only falls upon one person's set of ears, that you're okay with that. But wouldn't you want to share this if this was your business, okay, and you had all these tools in place? Wouldn't you get 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 people to come through and check it out so that they can give you their feedback, their input? I didn't like this, I like that. Holy smokes, how do I get involved? Are you franchising this? I got a buddy out in Illinois, he's doing something really similar. You should go and talk to him about what they're doing. And all of a sudden, people's wheels start to turn because they're now being introduced to something that you're involved with. So the benefits of the home meeting really are quite obvious. But number one is that you make a decision and you say, I'm doing this. And just by you making that decision, all of a sudden, the subconscious action of deciding to do something and making the commitment, all of a sudden, conspires the universe to really revolve around that decision. So once you take action, then things happen. So that's a really huge benefit of hosting one. Taking ownership of an event, right? Anytime you can take ownership of an event, you have a lot more to gain and you have a lot more to lose. It's kind of why using the events on the event calendar are great, but it's kind of an alibi for a lot of people, and you don't really have as much ownership in there. So if nobody shows up, no big deal. So because the consequences aren't so severe, then the effort isn't really that great either, because the ability to just not go to the event, right, because nobody else was going to go with you, exists. I would use those events as a way to escalate, okay, with your event usage. So you want to bring somebody from a one-on-one, or from a home meeting, to a hotel meeting, to a regional meeting, to a road show, to a leadership retreat type of a thing, to a power-up. So the benefit of a home meeting, though, is that it gives you total ownership in this. It helps you take personal responsibility for your business. And it also gives you something specific to work towards. When somebody's dating somebody and they just date and date and date and date and date, nothing really happens until they get engaged, okay, or something else in your life, if you don't want to use that analogy. People who are going down a path of studying for something certain, then they declare, a major of some sort. Well, now all of a sudden they have to take certain classes and certain courses and hit certain credits. Well, same thing with an engagement. Once that couple gets engaged, all of a sudden, there's a date in the calendar. Then all of a sudden you got your list put together. Who's coming to this thing, and what are the invitations going to look like, and what's the venue, and who are the groomsmen, the bridesmaids, and the best man, and all that stuff goes into motion, once a decision was made. And that's the same thing with this. So it gives you something very specific to work towards. And I'll just put a quick insert here. This is something you might want to write down too. It's really powerful. They did a study of a employee that worked full-time at 40 hours a week, okay, versus two part-time employees that worked 20 hours a week. One was like 9 to 12 or 9 to 1, and one was like 12 to 4, 12 to 5, whatever it was. And what they found was that the two part-time employees working 20 hours each a week, okay, were 80% more efficient and productive than the one part-time employee working 40 hours. And now why is that? Well, because people will get done what needs to get done in the time allotted to do it. People will get done what needs to get done in the time allotted to do it. So when you think about that, think about when you put an event on the calendar, and now all of a sudden it's like, hello, here's the dates coming up. Now everything else has to kind of go into motion. So it gives you something very specific to work towards, and then also a level of accountability. I think that all of us as professionals, as adults, and also children, they like structure of some sort. They like the level of accountability. Nobody really likes it while they're going through it, but they like the end result of what it creates. This is another way to engage your network. okay? But it's also a way to do it profitably because you're bringing them into a business opportunity potentially. And the last thing there is to generate results, okay? Whether it's new customers, new STPs, maybe somebody can't make it to your meeting, but they can all of a sudden sit down with you one-on-one. Well, that's a huge benefit of hosting a meeting is the spillover that you get from people who can't make the meeting, who want to come and sit down with you one-on-one. So here's what the evening should look like, okay? You really have kind of a welcome and a housekeeping. This is what we're here to do. Thanks so much for coming. This is over here, this is over there. And that should be about 5 minutes. Then you have the host's stories, okay? Um, and also then you share your why. So the host stories are, to share your story of being introduced to Veridian, okay? And your aha moment that made it clear that this was the right choice for you. What was it that you saw that really solidified that? And then share your why. So you dedicate a couple of minutes to share either, personally or have some of your associates share their why. And make it brief. This is not a long thing, but passion and excitement about the business go a long way, even if you know that you have a lot to learn about it. So the reason you got involved can resonate with that one person, as we were talking about before. Then you want to show the program. Okay, this is why you're there. So use whatever method you want, whether it's a flip chart, the video, the slides, but you want to keep it high level, and it's meant to be compelling, not overwhelming. And you want to keep the training session from keep the overview from being separate than showing you want to show the plan versus going into training. Allow for a few minutes of Q&A, but ultimately you want to build to the next event. Okay, so if you're doing an event locally at your home, you want to basically encourage people to attend the next meeting and to say, if this is something that you're interested in, one of the next suggestions I would tell you is on Thursday night, there's an event over in ABC Town, and that would be my next recommendation. We can sit down one-on-one before that, but that's the next piece. Then you want to wrap up, and you want to let people, really stick around for a few minutes and ask some questions. But this right here lays out about 60 minutes, and I think one of the biggest problems that a lot of people have is that and I've done it myself too, is they let one of these home meetings go on for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Then all of a sudden people start to say, you know what, man, that was a long night, and you don't really want that to be part of the equation. So one of the things I put together that I'll have on the website here is a checklist, and this is a checklist that I took some of it out of most of it out of the event escalation system, okay, which is in your back office. But it's a checklist for your event, okay, and you can break these things down into 3 weeks before, week of, day of, whatever. But you want to make sure you have the right adapters and or power surge. You want to have an agenda there. You want to have associate enrollment forms there, chairs and seating. Make sure that that's all prim and proper. Maybe contact your up team leader to be a guest at your event. Have customer enrollment forms. Make sure you have internet access or some way to access the internet. A laptop, markers and pens, marketing materials for next event. You want to have a meeting registration sheet. You can have people sign in. Maybe a microphone if it's applicable, probably not. Maybe some music. You want to have maybe name badges. I think it's a good idea to have people's name badges there so that the people can actually know who's who. Projector and screen if applicable. Maybe any promotional items. Some of the resource kit or sustainability brochures and books. Make sure your TV hookup and or if you have like I said in the first thing, the adapter there. Updated presentation materials. These things update once in a while. Have water and beverages and so on, and even a whiteboard and an eraser. So that's a mini little checklist that's there. But also what I put together for you was a timeline, and this is in an Excel spreadsheet, but this is a timeline of running a successful home meeting. And what you'll see here is really kind of what takes place to have a successful home meeting. Now, let's say that today being the 21st, that you wanted to have your home meeting within the next 4 weeks. Okay, so by the end of November here. Okay, so you really back into everything and say, I'm going to host this event by November 30th. Now, what has to happen to make this really successful? Well, I have to select a date for the event. Okay, I have to put together a list of possible attendees. Who could come? Who would I want to come? If I haven't ordered business cards, I probably should have business cards on file. And I need to create my why for doing this event. And just type it out. It could be really, really short, maybe a couple sentences or a couple bullet points. But you can see how this really also follows a duplicate system. Maybe set some goals and make some commitments. How many people do you want to have there? What would you like to have as the end result or the end outcome? And then here's where your commitment comes into play. It's really reaching out to these folks and letting them know, kind of what's going on. So you make a phone call, and what you'll notice in the Danny Johnson script book that we'll talk about in a second is that she really has a script for every possible invite as well as for every possible objection, which are powerful stuff. So I'm going to tell you that you're probably going to have to call 50 to 100 names to get 10 people to show up to an event. And people I think are so afraid to let associates know what's going to really be required, because they're going to maybe look at it and say, "Oh my gosh, nobody ever said it was going to be like that hard." And they don't really give you tangible numbers to know based on what reality you'd have to do to get the results you're looking for. So if you want to have 10, 15 people come to an event, you're going to have maybe X number of people that say they're going to come that don't show up. That happens all the time. So you should be able to call between 20 and 30 names per hour. And that's why I put down here, 4 hours of calls, maybe 1 hour a week or 2 hours in the first week or whatever it is. But 4 hours of calls is really not a lot. And just putting it in perspective, guys, I used to make 200 to 300 cold calls every day to strangers for 8 months when I first started at John Hancock. So when it's part of your quote-unquote job description, you do what you got to do. It just is what it is. But if you want to make those many calls, to get people to come to something that you're holding, it's very personal to have people over to your home or have them at some location. But it gives you total ownership and responsibility. And so I make those phone calls. That's part of the process. So you want to schedule that into your calendar. And then you want to send out just a mini little confirmation email. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow night. Here's the address again. Make sure to be there by this time. Attire will be really casual. Boom, 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 boom. But whatever. And then the day of, you send a text message just saying like, hey Sandy, looking really forward to seeing you, tonight. Let me know if you have any questions or whatever. But can't wait to spend some time with you and looking really forward to catching up. And then you host the event. So they always say, a little bit of preparation always saves time on the back end, or, measure twice, cut once kind of a scenario. And I can tell you that, this is the kind of stuff, guys, that will separate you and your team from the mediocres. Now, you have an option, right, to create excellence, for yourself. And you have the capacity, for excellence. And you also have the ability to bring that level of excellence to people on your team. And doing things with some level of organization behind it helps bring about that excellence, because nobody really wants to go through all this stuff, but they really want to have a very successful event. That's just the reality. And when you separate, those that run really successful events and what it took place to get it to that versus those that kind of shot from the hip and just did it a little bit nonchalantly, so to speak, the results are evidence, in that as well. So the question just really becomes is, what is it that you want? Do you want excellence? Do you want strong leadership in your organization? So let me stop talking for a minute here, and let me open it up for some questions, questions and comments. If somebody puts their name down there, maybe a little crowd interaction here or participation, I'll unmute your phone. But I'm looking maybe for 3 or 4 volunteers to kind of just talk a little bit about some of the stuff that we just talked about here, and just share some of your feedback or your initial observations. So just type in the chat box, me, if I can unmute your phone and hear from you. Okay, Don. Let me see if I can. Attendee cannot be unmuted because until they enter their PIN. Click to send their PIN. Audio PIN sent. So I'm not sure how that works. Let me see who else after Don. Anybody? Type in a me. Okay, Sandy. I'm having a home meeting next Tuesday, October 29th. If it doesn't work for you to do one, please invite people to mine and come yourself. Okay. Would be great to go over the invitation versus presentation. Invitation for the event, Maurice. Is that what you meant, Maurice? Invitation for the invite and why a quick call? Okay. Yeah. So let me do that. So one of the things you want to go through. Who here, by the way, before I answer that, who here was not able to get the Danny Johnson um, script book yet? Or who here has not ordered it yet? Okay. So everybody else has ordered it except for Cam and Neva and Sandy and Maria. Okay. Let me write this down here, guys. Okay, Maria, Neva. Okay. Don got it Saturday. Okay, great. So that book, guys, I can tell you is powerful. Those CDs it's one of the best $30 or $40 I've ever spent, and that's another thing I'm talking about. When it comes to the personal development side of stuff, investing in yourself always has a 100% return on its investment, and whether somebody has to put it on their credit card or whatever it is, I'm telling you, these are the kinds of things that are going to have the impact on your businesses. You going on and with your credit card, even if you don't have the money, and buying this book is going to actually do more for you than making 15 phone calls. I'm just going to tell you that flat out on a variety of different subconscious reasons. But to give you a quick role play here, Maurice, do you want to? Oh, you don't have access to a phone, I don't think. So let me see who can I role play with here that has access to a phone for a few minutes to do an invite. I'll unmute your phone if you put a yes in the chat box. Okay, Sandy, it is. So Sandy, can you hear me? Can we hear you?
Absolutely.
Okay. So here's kind of how I would do it, guys, and I'm just going to preface it by saying that when you're reaching out to these folks, they're people that you know, and you have to make it clear that you don't have a ton of time to go into everything right now. You have to kind of set the stage to a certain degree, and you want to basically stroke this person's ego a little bit. But the reality is that you genuinely want them to come and kind of check out what's going on here, to get their input and their feedback and some of their thoughts. Not that they're going to knock you off your track and you're looking for them to, to dissuade you from doing the business, but you're looking to share this with them so that they can give you their honest feedback there. So I'll just role play with Sandy. You'll be a good friend of mine, and I'm going to call you, okay? And we'll go from there. So, ring, ring.
Hello.
Hi, Sandy.
Yeah.
Hey, Sandy. It's Michael Fitzpatrick. How are you?
Hey, Michael. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. Did I catch you at a bad time?
No, this is a fine time. What's up?
Okay, listen. I only have a few minutes here, so it's going to be kind of a quick call, but I wanted to give you a personal phone call because I am having some people over to my house, okay, on the 30th of October, but only about maybe a half a dozen to 10 people or so. It's a very kind of private get-together, and the kind of people that will be there are going to be, people who I know, I trust, who I respect, and you definitely, as you know, you definitely fit into that category for me. I got introduced to and involved with a very exciting, business opportunity that I'm very, very excited about, and I want to kind of share what it is and how it works and what some of my thoughts are and plans are over the next, 1 to 3 years with it, with some sharp people that I trust and like yourself. And I want to get your feedback. I want to hear some of your thoughts about this, and I want to just share it though. But it would really mean a lot to me, and if you could do me a huge favor, and if you could be there on the 30th of October, just from 7 o'clock till about 8 o'clock, maybe 7 to 8:30 tops, but 1.5 hours, or 1.5 hour, sit down, and we'll get to just catch up a little bit, and it would mean the world to me if you can come. Can I count on you to be there?
Yeah, I guess so. What kind of business is it?
That's a great question. We're going to kind of go over all of that, the night of the meeting, and and it deals with green living and sustainability and things of that nature. Something I
Oh,
wasn't really too familiar with or aware of, but we're gonna kind of go over the details of it on the 30th. So I'm glad that you can join us. So I really appreciate you making the time for me.
yeah, yeah. I'm interested in green living.
Awesome,
I'll be
awesome. So I'll see you
I'll
on
be
the
there.
30th, and let me know if you have any questions or any issues that come up in between. And otherwise, I'll just see you at 7 o'clock at my place on Thursday. It's a small, intimate gathering, so it's casual, um, but just some high level people I wanna share this with and get your feedback. So it really means a lot to me that you'll come over. So thanks, Sandy.
Want me to bring anything?
Just your wonderful self.
Thanks. All right, I'll be there.
Perfect. Okay, so that's kind of how I would do it. And one thing that you'll notice is that that's um, that's just kind of how it goes, generally speaking. So that's what you want to do there. Now here's the homework. Okay. Um, Number one is I will make myself available to do a home meeting for you, and I know that that might mean that I might be doing 15 home meetings in the next 30 days, but I'm ready to do it. And I'm willing to, and it has to fit into all of our schedules. And if I can't do it, maybe your direct upline sponsor can, or somebody else can. But the homework is to pick a date, okay, for the home meeting. Now I said webinar here just because it was a an option, and I want to try to see if I have. Oh, I think I Oh no, I don't have it here. Um, Webinar is a different conversation for a different day, but it's the same type of a thing, just in a. You know what? Let me pull it up here for a minute, just because I think it's relevant, I should say, and important. So so here's an example of a webinar invitation. We were supposed to have a home meeting for one of our associates, and and it got canceled, so we did a webinar instead. So this is kind of how it looked, and it was really due to the pending snowstorm. Um, but we basically said, limited seating. They book up immediately. I only have 10 spots or whatever it is. It'll be live presentation by whatever. And then it just basically said, from the luxury of your own home or office, please feel free to join us on an educational webinar on, Wednesday, March 6th, 7 p.m. Click here to register. And Warren Buffett says energy deregulation will be the largest transfer of wealth in history. And then it just basically said, Dear Sandy, due to possible weather and safety for our guests and associates, tonight's venue has been changed as per above. As many of you know, 3 years ago I took on a huge risk and added a product to my portfolio to diversify my income. I signed up to become an independent affiliate associate with Viridian Energy, and it's been the single greatest blessing in my business life thus far. I'm unapologetically passionate about sharing this Viridian experience with as many people as possible. Even if you even if you only experience 10% of the amazingness that I've experienced, you will have a heart filled with gratitude. Since we started 3 years ago, my team has helped over 40,000 customers save money on their electric indoor gas bills while choosing a cleaner, greener product. And equally important, we have helped thousands of other people, just like you and me, aka associates, create financial freedom through the extraordinary business opportunity that Viridian has to offer. We're literally helping people get out of time and financial poverty and this and that, whatever. So the story was really here's about energy deregulation. This is what the Board of Public Utilities is saying. Here's the demographics of what's there, and there's an income opportunity as well. Now, this I wouldn't really send out to friends, but if you had a default option, you could send out something that was just the details for the event, and they could register as well. But this was something that went out to more, I don't want to say strangers, but people who were not in my warm market. I didn't really know these weren't great friends of mine. They were more acquaintances. So anyway, homework assignment number one is to pick a date and/or communicate with me about a date for a home meeting, and also I know we have about half of the people that we've kind of pinned down um, for one-on-one root camp follow-up calls. And so one of the things I'm doing this week is scheduling about a half an hour session to kind of go over your homework and let you know the things that I think that were really awesome and some other areas I noticed in your assignments, and just kind of have a check-in call together, a private one-on-one call. So we have to make sure that we schedule those. And I think right now I already have, who is this? I already have, I have Heidi, I have Maurice, I have Russ, I have Dennis, I have Hank, I know I was going back and forth with a few other people. And then the last part of the homework is yes. Some people have the some people responded to the times right away or a little quicker, so I put them in. Um, October 24th at 11 a.m. Okay, yes, Don, that's you. Yep, got that. Right now I have 3 p.m. on the 24th available. I have 4 p.m. on the 24th available, and I'll send out a couple other texts to people individually just to lock down the remaining 5 people or so. And then the script books. This is a huge um, personal development, I should say, but the scripts are fantastic, and she goes through a lot. She does role playing, in one of the entire CDs. So if you're ever wondering, how do you respond to people who say I need to think about it, or how do you respond to people who say I need to talk it over with my spouse, or how do you respond to people who say I don't have money or time, or this or that? She has the best script book I've ever seen put together in one consolidated spot. So that's something I would suggest if you have not already gotten it, that I'd make the commitment, I'd make the sacrifice, and I would get it. And it's going to be part of the scripting going forward. But I want everybody. The homework really coming off this call is to have everybody pick a date between now and the end of November to host their first home meeting and start putting this list into action, and have a home meeting on the calendar. So that's what we got for this week 4 root camp session here. And I'll just open it up here for the last few minutes. If there's any specific questions that people have, you can type it in the chat box there. Okay, any specific questions in the chat box? Everybody just got back, missed all the homework assignments. Chat later. Okay. Yes, we will. Book is great for what it's worth. What book was that, Maurice? Danny's book. Oh, you mean the script book or a different book? Yeah. Yeah. So you got yours already. You've already received it? Awesome. Awesome. Have you listened to the CDs yet, Maurice? Definitely recommend it. Yep. Okay, yeah, the first CD is well, both CDs are powerful, but it's a process. I mean, one of the things we're going to be talking about, guys, in one of the upcoming sessions is you'll notice if I go back to the beginning here of the things we've been covering. Week number 5 next week is ad-libbing is for amateurs, and I'm just going to re-emphasize the point here that I am looking for on my team. I am not looking to fall into the status quo. I'm not looking to see that people have X number of people that drop out or that they have X number of people that don't get results. I'm committed to one thing, and I'm committed to really excellence, for myself and for everybody else on my team. And I fall short, trust me, on a daily basis. I struggle with some of the same stuff that you guys struggle with, managing time and not getting distracted and all sorts of stuff. So, but I'm committed, to wanting your team to be an exemplary organization within not only the Veridian network, but within the industry. And that you have a higher per customer count than the average associate, that you have a higher number of associates per customers, in your organization, that you have more people on your team making more money than most people on their teams, and so on and so on and so on. So, some of the stuff that we do is a little unconventional, so to speak, and it's really designed to kind of help bring about that level of result there. So, in week number 5, when we get into ad-libbing is for amateurs, anybody who's ever tried out for a play before, or I know we have a lot of musicians on the phone actually, or some people who are part of the religious orders, anything that you've done that you've committed to and memorized and really practiced and rehearsed over and over and over and over and over again, you became better at it. And the same is going to be true with how do you handle objections. And let me ask this, just in closing here: how many people feel like they've read through scripts and they've memorized scripts, whether it's objections to things or whether it's um, invitations? How many people would say that they have um, read through and memorized scripts for Viridian, not for anything else, but for Viridian? Okay, yeah, yeah, Cam, you did it in your theater career. Yep. How many people think that there's an area of opportunity where they can actually get better at memorizing scripts for invitations and handling objections for Viridian? Of course. Agree. Yes, absolutely. Good. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you say that you are right now on your unconscious competence of just knowing a script inside and out, handling objections, not based on how you think they should be handled, but how, like, for example, Danny Johnson or some of the other expert trainers say that they should be handled, or even invitations? Okay. I think about 5 seems to be the average. And guys, I'm going to tell you that I'm about probably a 6 or 7 right now. After reading Danny Johnson's book and listening to her CDs, I'm probably at around a 6, personally. And I've mastered that stuff in my core business for 12 or 13 years, but I got a lot of work to do myself. So imagine if most of you guys were all a 5, right? Which is about a 50%. What would happen to your business if all of a sudden you took that 5 and you turned it into a 7 or an 8? What would happen to the people that you talk to, the number of prospects that you are recruiting, the number of the correct kind of people that you're bringing into the business? I mean, it'll have a significant impact. Taking it from a 5 to a 7 or 5 to an 8, and that's what this is all about, guys. It's small things, but it's mastering the mundane, as Q says, mastering the mundane and getting brilliant at the basics. And it's tweaking that 5 to a 6 or that 6 to a 7, that 7 to an 8, and it's little tiny things here and there that are going to continue to have a compounding effect over time on your business. So anyway, guys, we are at time here, so I appreciate you guys being on here once again. I congratulate you more than anything else for being on here, and I congratulate you for taking ownership here for yourself and for your future team. So that's all we got, guys, and we'll chat during the course of this week and next week. So God bless, take care, and we'll talk later. Bye-bye.